on down to the drive shaft. And that's quite a bit.
What y'all got going on under here?
Well, it's been a while since we've been on radials. We haven't raced this car in, what did we figure out earlier? 4 or 5 years competitively on a radial?
2017 or so?
Oh, so we are getting, and I'm not the greatest at notes, and
it's an understatement.
No, so we have no idea where we were the first time we were here. So we're just kind of using our best guess and knowledge on what it wants. And radial cars want the tire to be smashed. So you try to do whatever you can to get as much extension in the rear as you can. So the way I set this car all up yesterday is I got as much rear spread as possible on the 4-link. I got 12 inches of rear spread, and the rear spread is the initial, when you let off the button, that's when the car gets its bite. And basically what I've done is I've turned this 4-link into a ladder bar. It's real short and it's real high. The intersect on this car is 46 long, and we're about I did the whole drawing, and the way I set up a car, I don't use the computer because
you're not a computer type cat.
I'm not really. I'm
cat.
a mechanical type dude. So I draw it out on graph paper, and each little square is an inch, and that's how it makes sense in my head. So a lot of people have the computer programs where they could just punch everything in, and I'm sure that's way easier, but this is how I learned, and this is how I know I do it right. So we're about 46 inches long right now, and we're about 13.7 high. And the reason we're so high is because as soon as we let go of the button, we want this car to smash the tire and extend as much as possible. So what we ended up doing was we put the lightest springs that we could find on this deal. And we've taken a lot of weight off the rear of the car. So since we took so much weight off the rear of the car, the 100-pound springs that we had on the back, it was just kind of sitting on top of the springs, which doesn't give you any stored energy to promote the separation that we want. So we went with the lightest springs that we could find. We went and bought these last night from Duffy. He had some 80s. And so once we put these 80s on here, you can see how close they are. I wouldn't even mind having some 70s or maybe some 65s. As long as they don't actually coil bind, they're going to have more stored energy, which will promote throwing either the car up or the rear end down and smash the tire, and it'll hook. So what we did was we set this thing up. Since this car was originally a big tire car, we are up in the top holes here, which brings the rear end down, as far as we possibly can for the small tire. So we don't have a whole lot more that we can go down, but that gives us more extension. So from where the car's sitting right now, if we lift it up on the jacks, on the lift, we got about 5 inches of extension. And from what we were last time, everything that we had, the car extended about 4.5 inches, which it worked pretty well last time we were on radials. So what we're doing right now, really the only thing that we got left, we got it setting on the scales, and we've actually lost quite a bit of weight on the car. The car right now is 3,080 pounds, and that's the lightest this car's ever been. And to race in the class LDR that we're racing in, we have to be 3,250. So we're gonna have to add 150-ish, 170-ish pounds to this deal. Right now we're 56 and some change on the nose. So we'll probably which is way better than what it was last time.
What do you mean 56 on the nose?
56% of the weight of this car is on the nose. So like my new car that I built, it's opposite of that. There's more weight on the rear, which helps get down shitty streets. But with this one, the glue sticks to the tire, so you really want more weight on the front on a radial car.
Help keep the front end down.
Help keeps the front end down. This one, last time we had it on radials, it was 53 on the nose. And the car wheelied every time every pass we ever made on radials, the car wheelied. I do believe that isn't all front percentages. I believe the harder you get after it to the 60 foot, the less likely you are to wheelie. And with the knowledge that I have of tuning this thing on radials, I was always scared that I was going to smoke the tires on the hit or smoke the tires right at the 60 foot. So I was always lazy off the line. When you're lazy off the line, then you bring the boost in, that promotes wheelies. And that's what my car did all the time. So we're going to try to hit it harder out of the hole this time and try to go faster. So as long as this thing does what we want it to do and extends, I think it'll keep the front end down this time, especially with more weight percentage on the nose. So right now, basically, we've got the car on the scales. I'm happy with all the corner weights. When we set up a 4-link car like this right here, we always set everything up with the anti-roll bar unhooked. And the passenger side top 4-link bar is unhooked. So right now, we've got 3 on it. And then we see what the car's at. We set the car up, make sure the car looks straight, make sure nothing's crooked. We measure everything to make sure that the car's sitting straight. And right now we are about to do the pinion angle, which is why I have Monkey here. Monkey stops by, and Monkey always helps me set up cars. And I can do it without him, but man, who would want to, you know? So, and now this doesn't go for everybody. We don't claim to be smart radial guys or even smart chassis guys. But in my opinion, the best way to set up the pinion angle on this isn't going to be sitting here, because hopefully the car's not going to be sitting like this at all. As soon as I let go of the button, we want this thing to extend, and so we want to set our pinion angle at where it's going to be extended at. So we are going to use the lift to jack this thing up. We're going to get it at about 4.5 or 5 inches of separation, and we're going to see what the pinion angle's at there. No matter what you set your pinion angle at in a car, the drive shaft and the motor and everything is going to try to get the pinion angle straight, which is the degree of your pinion angle versus the degree of your drive shaft. It's always going to try to straighten out no matter what. So if we extend the car and it comes down here like this, we want at our extension for that to be a straight line, really all the way to the crankshaft. But the angles of this car, the reason it never really worked well on a big tire is because none of that is really correct in this car. The transmission actually points down in this car instead of up, which is the reason it works so much better on a small tire than it ever did on a big tire. Because if your transmission's pointing down like this and you got a big tire on it, your rear end's way up here. Well, now that we got a small tire on it, we move our rear end way down here, and then it all lines up, which makes this car happy on a radial. So we'll lift the lift up, get our 4.5, 5 inches of extension, and then we're going to see where we're at. If we get our extension and then we're already even at like 3 inches, the thing's only going to separate 3 inches. Once the drive shaft and the pinion angle and everything gets even, it's not going to extend anymore. But the power that we're putting through it will actually make it straight. No matter if it's 15 inches, 18 inches, how much ever travel this thing will move until it gets straight, in my opinion. I don't know if it will work for every car, but I would assume, you know, we're not radial guys. We don't know how this shit works. This is just what we felt like has worked for us in the past, and everything that we're doing is promoting this thing to extend 4.5, 5 inches. So that's kind of where we want to be, and that's where we had, you know, the little bit of success before. So that's what we're doing now. So
get this thing set up, and then you'll see them in Alabama.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're gonna lift the lift up, let this thing extend to the 5 inches, and then we'll use our angle finder and we will zero it off the drive shaft and see if the pinion is at 0. So once we do that, we're pretty much done setting the car up. Then we can put the upper bar back on it. I'll get in the car. Right now we have my weight sitting in the car, so everything's pretty level. But once we get to the anti-roll bar, I like to actually get in the car and then let Monkey do the anti-roll bar here. After that, we should be done setting the car up. Car's pretty level, car's pretty straight. Everything's actually worked out really well. We haven't messed with this car in a long time, and after it's been so long that you do things, you forget shit. And so, I don't know. I'm pretty excited with the way it's set up, and I think things are gonna go well. So, all right, I'm gonna go up on the lift. Let me know whenever you're ready.
So, right there we are 1.1 degrees
Down still?
down still.
Okay, so it's still trying to come up.
We're still separated.
Okay. Tell me when.
Okay. All right.
There's a lot of separation.
So that is 4.5 inches.
Okay, so it probably only has another quarter left in it before it tops the shocks out. Everything looks okay though, huh?
So when you're talking extension, this is what you're looking for. You're talking about the shock coming out of the body
Yes.
and pushing down on the tire and up on the...
Whenever I say separation, I talk about the rear end from the body of the car. It separates. And whenever it separates, it smashes the tire down, which hooks.
And they're almost at full extension right now.
There's probably maybe another quarter left. So about right now, we want it to just barely still have maybe just a little bit of negative. Not much though.
But right now, this is where you're talking about the drive shaft was pointing straight at the transmission,
Yes.
straight at the back of the crank.
Yes. Where are we at?
We are 1.2.
Damn. So we can probably still take a little bit out of it.
Yeah, you can go up. Go up a quarter of a degree.
And this is why we leave the passenger side top bar off, so that whenever you're messing with when you're rolling the pinion angle, you just got to grab one bar and spin the top 4-link bar to get your pinion angle. Once we get it with that one, we'll lock that side down, and then we'll put this other side on, and then that'll get us our negative, which will put us where we want to put. When you use the scales, you always want to be light on this tire over here, because it's the torque of the car. As soon as you leave the line, it's going to put more weight on this tire. And if you're even to take off, as soon as you leave the line, it's going to put more weight on this tire than that tire, and then the car's not going to drive straight.
So you move to the front of the car. What are you doing up here?
We're trying to get the corner weights right. So we put 2 flats of negative in it. Keep on going. We put 2 flats of negative in the upper rear bar. Okay. And it's only 60, 70, and I don't know. I don't like going 2 flats. I would rather, I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, we've always ran this car pretty neutral in the back. And I like to be about 80, 90 light over there. So instead of cranking a whole bunch of negative in the upper bar back there, I'm gonna lower this front just a little bit. One full rotation, which will take weight off of that back tire back there. And then we shouldn't have to do such a dramatic, you know.
So when you say neutral, that means no tension on the bars.
On either side. And whenever you got tension on it, what that tension does is it puts the 4-link in a bind, and it either takes weight off of that tire or puts weight on the tire. So if I lower this coil over right here, it will essentially lean the car just a little bit and then take weight off of that passenger side rear.
So what you just did up there worked.
It didn't do really what I wanted it to do, or as much as I wanted it to do, but yeah. I think that if we go any more up front, then it's going to start leaning the car too much, and I don't want to do that. So we're gonna end up with 2 flats. So
2 flats of negative.
2 flats of negative back here, yes. And I think that once we put the 2 flats in it, it will actually bring this side down, which will bring that side up, and then we won't really even be able to tell that we went down with that one up there. So the car's still sitting straight. We're at my 85-ish light over here that we want, but I mean, you got to remember how I am. I'm the guy where I'll make 2 bar changes before we get the car out of the trailer on my way there, because I think too much on the way to the track. So we'll get there, we'll make a pass, and we could change this whole deal up if it doesn't go the way that we want it to. So that's this will be the last time we do the scales, though. Once we get to the track, it doesn't matter what the scales say, and all these numbers, they don't matter either. Numbers are just numbers. So I try not to worry too much about the numbers, because they're just numbers. Once you get to the track, they don't mean nothing. Once we make our first pass and I get to see what the car does, all these numbers go out the window, and then we make changes by what the car tells us it wants. So all these right here, this is kind of like a dyno in your car. It don't mean shit. Once you get to the track, that's what matters. With that being said, I still got all these numbers in my head that I want this to do.
And we're going to talk about them for the 11-hour drive.
We're going to talk about them, and I'm going to be upset. And I have these numbers in my head that I want this car to be at. And if it's not there, I'm going to do what it takes to get it there. And then once we get to the track, I'll change it all up.
So initial scaling is done.
I don't know if it's going to work.
What is this for?
This is for the weight that we have to add to the... I never thought I'd be saying that about the OG car, but whenever we swapped over to methanol, we lost, a couple 100 pounds, it looks like. The car right now is actually 3,080, and that's the lightest it's ever been. Well, to race LDR, we got to be 3250. So we're going to have to add, 170 pounds. At least 150.
Mm-hmm. But luckily, we can put it wherever we want it.
We can put it wherever we want it, and we really need it right on the front. So, I'm going to bolt this up and see where we're at.
So, done.
Yeah, so we're done scaling it. Usually takes us a couple of days to do things. It's been a long time since I've done any of this to the car, so you know how it is. It started coming back to me. It's just totally different, the stuff that we have to do to this car versus to this car, and I can't think of one time ever in my life that I've had to add weight to a car to make weight. I've added weight to the trunks of cars to get the percentages a little bit better for street stuff, but never have I ever added weight to make the minimum weight of the class requirement. So we actually had to put about 175 pounds in this car. Over the winter, we did a lot of work to this deal. We swapped it from Q16 gasoline over to methanol, and
lost a bunch of weight.
A lot of money to lose a lot of weight, and now we just added all the weight back that we lost.
Literally all of it.
Yes. So, but the good thing about that is last time we radial raced this car, we were 53 on the nose. Now that we get to add the weight, we put it wherever we want it. So we stacked a whole bunch of weight on the nose, and we're actually 58 on the nose now, which will hopefully keep the front end down, and we won't have to pedal it, and we won't wheelie down the track. So wheelies are cool, but they very rarely get you to the next round. I like being cool, and this car
oozes cool.
You know, I mean, everything that this car does is cool. And, you know, wheelies across the finish line in South Georgia was cool, you know, and we got lucky and we won that race. But if we would have done wheelies in any round after that, we wouldn't have made it. But hopefully with this much nose weight, we can get after it out of the hole a little bit better, bring our 60 foot down, and I mean, I don't want to say it because I'll be happy if we just make passes. I'll be happy if we consistently make passes, nothing falls off of the car, and everything goes well. But I honestly believe if we make a pass and everything goes well with the car, before the weekend is up, we'll have a new ET record for this car, a personal ET record. So the fastest we've been to date with this car is a 426 at 181, and I think that I think we can beat that pretty easily. So it's been a while since we've done it, but I think it can happen. So we still got a few things to do. The seat belts have been outdated for 2 or 3 years now.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, you know, I mean, where we do race this car at, nobody ever checks that stuff. So we got some new seat belts that we're going to throw in it. We've got 3 years of dust piled everywhere in this car. I'm scared to make a pass in it right now because I won't be able to see. This is still the OG, this is still the original, and there's holes everywhere, and if we make a pass in it the way it sits right now, dust is going to be flying everywhere, and metal shavings, and there's probably still some pollen in the car. So we got a lot of cleaning to do, but at this point we are 3 or 4 days away from heading to the race, and I'm pretty sure all we got left is to clean it, and that's pretty good. We haven't put the coil on plug on it yet, but we're planning on stopping at Fuel Tech on the day before the race. We're going to throw it on the dyno. We're going to put the coil on plug on it and just make sure everything is good. Make some boost with it. The most boost we've ever made with this car is, you know, 44-ish, and just getting rid of the intercooler, it's going to make more boost.
Yeah.
Where we at?
Made 44 pounds of boost.
So we definitely want to put it on the rollers and just make sure everything's going to go good. We don't care about horsepower numbers with this deal. Horsepower numbers don't win races.
It's going to make a lot though.
It should make quite a bit of power, but we're not real concerned with that. I know the motor's good. I know the transmission's good. I know the converter is the converter that we always run with radials. And I think everything's going to be good, but we just put the Fuel Tech boost controller in it, and we want to make sure it's going to do what we tell it to do. We don't run a whole lot of wastegate spring in this car because whenever we leave on radials on this car, we only leave it like 6 pounds of boost. So we're not concerned with any of that. We want to make sure that we can make the boost that we tell it to, when we tell it to, and we have no stupid leaks, small things like that will eat up all of our time when we get to the track. So we want to make sure everything's ready to go. No CO2 leaks, no boost leaks. Those are the two main things that I'm concerned with. The thing's going to make the power. If we can get the boost to it, it's going to make the power. And I think the suspension is set up good enough that it's going to extend the way that we want it to, and it's going to hook. So ET's going to come. I'm just mainly focusing on A to B passes and nothing falling off the car at this point. So we'll see what happens.